Oh, hello, everybody. My name is Passionate, and this is the Scrubs of Southtown, a KOF podcast hosted with me and my co-host, SycoticFatBoi.
Yo, what up, everyone? How's it going? Good to see you guys around.
Yeah, and we are going to have special guests today, Purest and kenshimura. Purest
Hey, what's up, guys? Good to be here.
and Kenshi, the hype beast, Stone Cold.
Hype beast? I don't know about that one.
Well, you made me feel hype in my chest, so I don't know. You're kind of fitting the title, man. It's what was that Guilty Gear quote they have when you pass like the 7th floor, like you are no longer considered average. This is the choice you have. I guess this is the price you have paid for power or something.
Oh, man, I haven't played Strive in a minute.
Me either. That game has been collecting dust. I've actually just been grinding some 14 stuff the past few months. That and Dragon Ball. Damn. So I wanted to get into our first topic of the day. I wanted to kind of touch about, kind of mentality and the kind of ways that people will go like off the rails when they first get into the FGC. Like, I'm sure we all have experiences where we've walked into a place and had like an idea of what we wanted to do or like what we were trying to do, and then it just fell flat, or like the experience was shit, or like you know what I mean? Like that's a hard problem to have to deal with outside of the game that you don't necessarily have inside of it.
Oh, you mean like offline? Is that
Yeah.
right? Okay. Well, I got my start online, so it's a little bit different for me.
Oh yeah? Well, tell me about that.
Yeah, well, I started with KOF 2002 really long time ago. I kind of just I played it on emulator on PC, and I kind of just copied what tournament players did in tournament footage. But I didn't know frame data at all, so I didn't know fighting games back then. I just practiced at home, went to the arcades. But at the arcades, it's just put in the quarter, play. It's not a very social activity there, at least for me. But then when Steam KOF 13 came out in 2013, that was when I got into fighting games more seriously. I learned about Juicebox. I learned about frame data, block stun, all that stuff in KOF, and yeah, I never stopped playing since then.
Well, hell yeah, man. Like that's cool that like getting your start online got you to like go to like arcades and stuff like that and be able to like play next to people. That's crazy though. Are you like a stone cold killer when you're at the arcades? Is that something I never experienced? I always felt like people would talk to each other, at least talk shit to each other.
Not at the arcade I went to. It was pretty antisocial. Just
oh damn,
a couple of people play and then leave. So yeah, it wasn't the full arcade experience that a lot of people experienced back in the day.
Yeah, not the guy with the 360p camera recording all the footage over your shoulder.
Yeah.
So about you, Kenshi, how'd you get your start?
On fighting games or KOF?
Let's go KOF.
Okay, so I wouldn't call it my true start, but I played KOF 95 when I was like 4 at an arcade that used to be in the Canton Center Mall, but that mall is now gone. That arcade is now gone.
Yeah.
So that was like my first exposure to KOF, I would say. And then CVS2 around 09, I was playing that because I was too poor for Street Fighter 4 at the time. And I just kind of gravitated naturally towards the SNK characters. And it was around 2011 that I learned about Supercade at the time, GGPO at the time, and I had met some people who completely washed me in my main game at the time. It was Street Fighter 3 back then. Like, I wasn't really good at fighting games yet, and I thought I was good. And I got washed by people who had fundamentals when I didn't. And the dude said, I don't really actually play this game. I'm more of a fan of the KOF series. And I was like, oh, cool. I know what that is. Hook me up with the ROMs. Let's do it. And man, back then, I was just so bad at the game. I thought these players were the best in the world. They're just some players from Mexico that I met, through. Oh God, that's embarrassing to admit to. I met them through a Toho RP community on Facebook, but
Hey, no
Nice.
judgment.
yeah, that's how I met them, and they got me into KOF, but I was really bad at the game. I kept losing, and I was really frustrated. So and when you play with people that much better than you, they kind of had some harsh advice that I wasn't able to take when I was 16 and 17.
Yeah.
It just felt like they were making fun of me. So I actually had quit KOF, like playing with other people. I had quit KOF in that aspect, and I just focused on Street Fighter. I was totally an online warrior until 2016, and that's when I started traveling. Street Fighter 5 was new. I played a lot of Street Fighter 4, and I still liked KOF. So like if they had like KOF 13 side tournaments, I would enter those too. But yeah, it wasn't until 14 that I really picked up KOF for real and
Like for
actually
real,
started
for real?
learning. Yeah, I actually started learning how to play and getting better. Like I played for years, but I was dumb. I was bad at the game, fam. It's embarrassing because I still have like match footage on my YouTube from back then, and then I'm just like, I watch it, and like I feel like I'm gonna puke in my mouth because that was just so bad back then. I'm like, why are you this bad? Oh wait, that was 2012. That's why I'm bad there.
Yeah, the
But yeah,
beginning of the
my
journey.
start. Yeah, my start was it was kind of all over the place with KOF. Like I was in and out of it. So 2016 when 14 dropped was like my real like nitty gritty start. That's when I got introduced to the community, Dream Cancel and the USA part of North American community.
Yeah, same. I got into the online community through KOF 14. Through all my KOF 13 years, I just played solo, so I didn't learn too much back then. But after 14 came out and I started interacting with the people, I started learning the game way faster. So that was really good.
Yeah, man. See, all you people out there, I'm telling you guys, hey, man, just ask questions. Got questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead and ask questions. You're not in freaking Air's chat. You're not gonna get shot. Well, maybe you probably get shot in mine, but just ask questions, man. We're always gonna help you guys out. I want everyone to improve. I want everyone to start beating my ass. And
I'm working on it.
like
I'm
you guys
trying.
you guys are getting there. You guys are getting good. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't play that much. Then I'm surprised like how well I freaking do at times.
No, I remember playing you back in the KOF 13 online. That's where we first played. Although we never interacted, we never said anything to each other until KOF 14. But I remember you were
Right? Yeah.
always really good. Like you were always a strong player, as I remember.
That's what everyone keeps telling me. But I guess we could kind of like go to like a little towards mentality. Like, damn, dude. Like, I would never see myself like good until I could give Violent Kane a real run. That's just the way I see it. Like, I don't know. I guess like my expectations a little bit different, right?
Yeah, I mean he is like top 5, so
He is top, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
that's the stuff that keeps
you got to
fire.
grand final against him in a
Yeah,
tournament
exactly.
before, right?
I was about to say that.
That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, you cut yourself a little short, but keep staying hungry for it, dude. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to take that away from you, but you do have a shot at being one of the best in SoCal when 15 drops. Just as your grind has been progressing.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll see about that because like we have a lot of killers in SoCal, right?
Yeah.
And the only reason why people probably just know about like me being like in SoCal or the West because like you got great KOF players that just don't really play 14. You don't like Mr. KOF doesn't get exposure. I think Lightning will probably be pretty good if he kept playing. Then of course you got like Reynold, right? Like he just completely dropped the game in general.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like I think like it's just. And I think just like the West Coast is just kind of dead, Like for
I
KOF
don't
14, that is.
yeah, for 14 probably, but I think it's just kind of dormant. Like everyone's kind of waiting for the next thing. 14 had a very fumbled and left like very divisive. I was about to say decisive, divisive
It is.
launch. So
Yeah,
like
it
that was
did.
really hard.
Mhm.
SoCal has been pretty divisive in a way too, because like where people live, like the LA group is always like so far away from the OC group, you know, and like there's like no middle grounds for them and all that stuff to really like play, like besides back then at Super Arcade. But back then every like KOF people SoCal, they were just like freaking like they were just busy with life, working, family and all that shit.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's kind of hard in SoCal.
Mhm. I do think that a good number of KOF 14 players will have some kind of edge against the players who didn't move on to 14 because 15 is looking to be pretty similar to 14 in terms of like normals and the properties of certain things. It's all like it's based on 14 and then built on top of that, which people who didn't play 14 might not be used to.
Yeah, it
Like
looks
the
like
size of the normals,
14.5.
that's a big one.
Like they put they said, here you go. They put a jetpack on it. You know what I mean? Like EX anywhere,
Maybe
go, have
I
it.
think, yeah, I think it's a little bit more than that, but yeah.
Yeah, it's I think it's gonna be crazy. Like it's gonna be a massive explosion when of like new tech and like new findings and
Mhm.
the tier list is gonna be shattered, destroyed.
Oh
Of course,
yeah,
it's a
for
new
sure.
game, but like it's gonna be like, oh well, Shune is not as much of a problem because fucking Kim as a $5 DLC is gonna be able to EX Hangetsu's. This game's now pay to win.
I'm gonna pay for those freaking pants.
Pay for what?
Oh, the
Kim's
pants.
pants.
Oh, okay. I thought you. Yeah, okay, we're good. Thought you said something else, brother, but
Yeah,
I just heard it a
you
little bit
cut
wrong.
out like just at the right time.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. Okay.
speaking of-
Giuseppe's there with me. He thought you said something else too. Sorry. Speaking of what, Fat Boy?
Speaking of how about getting into fighting games, we didn't get to you about how you got into fighting games.
Oh yeah. So my first exposure to wanting to play a fighting game like ever was like Rival Schools. I played it at a like bowling arcade and I would just get smoked all the time. But then I quit and I became a Time Crisis main for like 15 years.
Hell yeah!
Then Dragon Ball came out and I was like I was in a really bad place in my life at that time and I didn't have anything I really was like ambitious for at the moment. Like there was nothing that caught my, like I didn't even want to boot up my computer and play games. You know, I was like really depressed. So I saw Dragon Ball and I was like, oh, let's get into this. And that led me to becoming a TO and doing some other stuff. And then I'll go into more details about the KOF thing. I just don't want to, it's a huge list. But that led me to meeting Alex Valle, working with him and doing TOing stuff for Dragon Ball and getting more jobs to work other events. And that's when I was introduced to Hyperdrive. That was my first exposure, like true exposure to KOF. And I fucking love the game. I met Sanchez and FatBoi. Funny anecdote. I actually thought I would never talk to Sanchez again after the 2002 tournament because like I just met him right there for the first time ever, and we had like some issue with the Brooks converter. Like there was 16 entrants into this tournament, and there were only 3 Xbox controllers in the entire venue. So it was a long ass tournament. And I thought he got mad because he left and he came back like an hour later and he's like, yeah, you want to learn how to play 14? And then FatBoi washed the hell out of me. And then that's just kind of how I got my start. I was like, I really want to buy this game. I want to get in. I bought it for a CD key online for like $6 and been playing it ever since.
Damn.
I think I grinded
That's a
the
pretty
game for
damn-
like 15 weeks straight. I would come home from work and just practice. Like it was
Nice.
a part I felt out of the tunnel and I was like, oh my god, I need a vacation from this.
What's up? You know the funny thing is, Hyperdrive was like my first fucking KOF tournament.
No way.
Like that's the first tournament I ever played like for KOF in my life.
What the fuck, bro? I thought you've been grinding this whole fucking time, and you've been like this like down player, and you
Fuck
like
no, dude.
place
I'm just
whatever in tournaments. You're an
I
online
just play
warrior
online
that's
and
fucking
watch
godlike.
videos. Yeah, like
Oh shit.
no, to be honest, like I just play online and I just watch like ET
Mhm.
and I just look at what he does and I try to think about like why he, pressed his hair, his decision making and all that stuff, his spacing, and that's why I like watching ET play because he is such a monster that like
Yes.
his fundamental skills carries him over. Like, dude, who the fuck is gonna beat M Dash with fucking Banderas? No one I know besides ET.
I don't know. You
Like
seen
it's
him play
crazy.
Sojiro? I'm not. I'm
Like
just
Oh,
making a
he's on
joke,
no,
dude. I'm
like
just making a
I
joke,
don't
dude.
like he's good, but let's be real.
Yeah, I got you. Man,
But yeah,
that's
that's
kind of
true.
a perfect anecdote because like I wanted to touch on like beginner traps when you get into mentality. Like after I watched Hyperdrive and I looked at like Benny Maru, I was like, yo, I love the way that M Dash is playing Benny Maru. He's setting himself up to have like the perfect spacing. So like I would bring myself to be able to do like the block strings, the combo, a few of the things that he would do in tournament. But there's so much like when I got into KOF that I was missing, right? Like the reason he's doing this is it stops a roll. I'm not doing the version that stops the roll, and other stuff like that that gets missed, or like you're doing this frame trap to set up something in the future, or something of that nature, and that's kind of the trap I got myself in, and went like 7 months without like reevaluating spacing and like how to set yourself up to anti-air and other shit like that. Like have you guys gone through that, or like know people gone through that too? Like let's talk about this.
Yeah, I'd say for the majority of my KOF 13 days, that's I played pretty poorly because I focused too much on trying to land combos. Now, I should say one thing about KOF 13 is that game really is much more about hit confirming into combos. So there is some sense of going for it, but I completely neglected neutral and what it means to play neutral, how to beat fireballs. Juicebox destroyed me with King every single time, and I had no way of winning. So it took until KOF 14 where I started to learn how to properly play neutral and also how to deal with zoning play. So before that, it was just try to get in, land combos, and nothing else existed.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm talking about too, is like that's literally the trap I went into, right? It's like
Yeah.
I have the jump D into whatever, but how do I land that jump D, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so I want to set up an ambiguous space, right? But I'm still committing to a full jump instead of going for pressure and then sneaking it in. You know, like it's reactable. Just because it worked right here doesn't mean it's always going to work. And then you start getting blown up by better players and you have no idea why, because that shit was working.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I fell into that same beginner trap. You know, when I was playing O2 a lot with that group of Mexicans that I used to play with, I didn't understand neutral and I didn't understand defense. But I would watch what they were doing as far as like offense goes, and I would try to like mimic that. And for the longest time, that's literally how I played. I was copycatting what they were doing, but I didn't know why they were doing it.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of times where I would go for something in a situation where that was a completely wrong choice, and I would just get, messed up for it. Neutral's freaking hard, man. Like
neutral is like writing a script. Like you're writing a monologue at the right time, and like
yeah, man. The beginner trap, like if you're not actively being told, like, hey, you aren't looking for certain things, like, because I don't want to say you don't know what you're doing because that's mean, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not actively being told, hey, you're not looking for certain things, you're just beelining it to offense, and you're never going to get in on me like that. I never had anyone tell me, things in a more polite way. I was always the guy who got told, you don't know what you're doing. Stop mashing. Stop trying so hard. because you're just mashing and you're not doing anything right. Like,
Yeah, and
so
that's
it was definitely when you're a beginner. Oh my gosh. I want to say avoid learning offense the way I did and learn it the right way.
yeah, there's definitely a huge disconnect between like that's kind of where I wanted to talk about like where you came from too, right? Like I feel at a point when people have been entrenched in something for so long, like even something like League of Legends, right? Like people play the game for so long, and then someone else who comes along that doesn't know as much as them, like it's easy to flame them, and it's easier to flame in a team game. But when you're in that 1v1 and the person is so much better than you, I mean, this even happened to me at a tournament recently that I went to an offline. The guy was just talking mad shit the whole time. Like anytime I'd do something, he'd go, "Nope, get that shit out of here," and like other stuff. I was like, "Geez, like okay." I'm like, I'm used to it now, right? Like, I mean, it's like the rough and tumble shit. Like, I'm not gonna let it affect me. But I was like, man, you are going in on me right now. Like, it's casuals, man.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the spirit of like a good grip of people who have been there. Like, if you had to learn through the school of hard knocks, and you passed through the school of hard knocks, like what's gonna make you think that it's a good idea to like tell someone to like, hey man, you should just take a step back and look at the fact that you're overcommitting to this situation, and if you're overcommitting there, then you're probably not thinking about what you need to do there. So I would start there first, right? Like no one's gonna do that to you when you're at an arcade unless you get like
Right.
hella lucky. It's like pulling an S fucking out of a gacha, you know?
Yeah, it's every man for himself in fighting games, you know, like you got to find the right people that are willing to sit down with you and actually, you know, point things out. Experience is experience, you know, it goes a long way. But there's certain things like with KOF that I feel like I had to be pointed in that direction, you know.
Yes. It's not straightforward.
Yeah, thankfully there's really decent video tutorials on what I was missing, aka Juicy Bits neutral game videos, but
Yeah.
Yeah, Juicy Bits,
you know,
and for those at home, Juicy Bits and Dan DJ, those are the two things you should Google when you're looking for that. Like those two grips of videos are gonna set you right. Sorry, continue.
oh
My
yeah. The funny thing is the Dandy J video never helped me personally.
Really? Oh, I
It
want to hear about
never
this.
helped
I
me.
want to hear about this.
It was all like basic shit that I already knew.
Right.
It gives you the basics, but I had learned the basics through osmosis. I didn't know neutral per se, but like I knew, you know, throws beat rolls, I knew hops beat lows, like that was all. I learned that through playing. I learned that through
Right.
experience. So by the time I watched that, you know, Dandy J video, I found it almost useless.
You were leveled up a little bit too past that point at that, right?
Yeah, like I wasn't good, but like I didn't need the basics. I needed the concept of neutral,
Right.
you know? And that never covered it, and I didn't find Juicebox's videos until after 14 was already released.
I see. Yeah, I was pretty much the same way, except I found his videos during KOF 13, and I watched pretty much all of them, so that when I found out about the Dan DJ's video, when I played KOF 14, it was already useless to me, so there was no real point in watching that.
Like I rewatch it once in a while to like remind myself of what it's like to be like a beginner, what
yeah.
you don't know as a beginner.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But even like I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it. That video has one fundamental flaw. It assumes that you have fighting game experience.
Well, they said that at the beginning of it too. They say like play Street Fighter 4 instead.
Yeah,
which is a bummer.
That's the fundamental flaw of it though, because if you give that to someone who's never played a fighting game, it's going to be, they might be able to take something from it, but it's going to be a lot harder to learn from it without, some sort of fighting game experience, some sort of fighting game background.
Yeah,
but,
showing it to a
it's still
complete beginner
really
is a
good
little
video.
rough.
Yeah, it's still a really good video if you played, like, if you came from, like, Street Fighter or, Mortal Kombat 9 or 10 or whatnot. It's still a good video. It's just, if you're starting with KOF, like, congratulations. I wish I would have started with KOF. But if you're starting with KOF, I feel like it's kind of hard to take some of the concepts that video is giving you with no prior knowledge.
Yeah, like explaining safe jumps, right? Like with how it does in that video. If you don't even know what a safe jump is, and then they like throw safe jump OS and this is how you beat it, you're like, wait, hold on, I just learned like the hop distances and the ranges. But I feel it needs to be split up a lot, like broken down in like bigger chunks for people to like break down and chew.
Yeah. You need to take that video, like, if you're a beginner, you need to pace yourself with any sort of like tutorials or anything. If you just like binge watch tutorials, but you don't put them into practice, I don't find them as useful.
No, they're pretty much garbage at that point. I think that I think that you barely retain anything after a while. Like I go back now and rewatch a lot of like Juicebox content because when I first was watching it, I didn't understand as much as I do now about KOF, and I feel like I still learn like a new grip of like, oh yeah, I wasn't thinking about that when he was talking about that, but now that I have this experience and this thing, like I found like the nugget of info that was there the whole time, but I just missed it. And I'm sure if I go back, there'll be another one too. Like it's gonna be like that.
I'm gonna tell y'all a secret. The night before I drove to Lunar Bout 2020, I was watching those videos and I put it on a playlist that I just set to repeat. So I was also listening to it while I was asleep. And I mean, hey, I got 4th place. So you know what? It can work.
Hey, Juicebox coerced you in your sleep to get 4th place? Not bad. Not bad.
That's pretty good.
Shout outs to Juicebox.
Yeah, I've watched those videos a handful of times as well, especially the one that's called effective mix-ups. That one took me many views to understand fully because I just didn't do all the rush down mix-up stuff that he did. But yeah, I also want to bring up something that you guys mentioned earlier, where I think you guys said that you guys need really good luck to meet someone in an arcade who's really nice with you. Yeah, okay. So one thing I do online in the KOF Newbies Discord is I go to the KOF 14 matchmaking and I look for newbies there who are looking for matches. And I go, hey, I'm not a newbie, but I can show you how to play the game. I can show some basics. And they say, like, oh, really? And I take them to online training mode, show them the basics. And they're always really appreciative. And it's a really fulfilling, a really satisfying experience.
That's cool, man. I didn't know you did that. That's amazing. That's really awesome, dude.
Yeah, I've been doing that for quite a while, actually.
Yeah, well, thanks for doing that for the community.
I don't think anyone else does that. Yeah. It's just something I enjoy doing. I think it's fun.
Well, good on you, dude.
I know that when I started, if someone helped me do that, I would have learned the game so much faster. But then again, I kind of got my start in 13, and there's no online training mode, so couldn't really do it there.
Yeah.
I usually like do like helping people, but I don't really like help people unless they ask for it.
That's how I am too.
But if some scrub hits me up, like people who played like, in the beginners tournaments and all that stuff, and they hit me up and say, hey, like, I mean, I offer it and say, hey, can you help me out? And then, I would actually like literally post up a stream. I will freaking, make a day like on a Saturday, Sunday, and I'll like spend like a few hours with you. I usually don't mind doing that.
He's done it with me. He's not lying, fellas.
Yeah, so you guys need help, man, just holler at me. If not, I'm just gonna hop back on Diablo and go for a couple spins.
Oh man, our homie is addicted to Diablo. We're gonna have to find a way to remedy that.
Dude, it's I don't know, dude. Like when you find like a good item drop and like that fucking dopamine kicks in and you just like literally nut everywhere. That's like the
you
fucking
gotta
feeling
you
I'm
gotta
getting
get the dopamine of helping a beginner. We'll get you out of there, buddy.
Oh, there is something I wanted to bring up. It doesn't necessarily apply to beginners, but I mean it could help them too.
Mhm.
I want to say your self-perception is super important in fighting games. Like, if you make a mistake or you make a couple mistakes in a game and you start telling yourself you're bad, you're going to start making way more mistakes. And I feel like even me and myself, I have to learn how to forgive my mistakes, recognize them though, and fix them, but not beat myself down to the point where I think I'm a bad player, because I'm not. I'm just still learning. And I feel like not enough people acknowledge that mental aspect of fighting games, that it's very easy to damn it, Elkie. Elkie in the chat. But
Elky's out here
it's
with coconut
very
cream pies.
it's very easy to forget that. Like, not a lot of people bring that up.
Yeah,
The
no,
negative feedback loops are important.
I have a video I've been working on, like scripting actually, about this specific thing. Like it's kind of like when you go to an event and you get smoked and you're sitting thinking about your losses and you kind of like lose sense of the space around you, right? You're so in your own head and what you wanted and what you're trying to do or whatever. And like that's an encapsulation of that moment, right? When that happens in a match, right? That post negative feel and stress, like that's mental stun. You are literally allowing the opponent to mental stun you, because when the moment that you say, I'm bad, that's when your opponent can get that. Like, how many frames is that? How many frames are you thinking about that? Like, that's something that Super Noon and I had a conversation about way back when, was like using the sports psychology of like understanding what's going on with your mind at the time, correcting your breathing, making sure you're being nice to yourself, like all this stuff. Like it's so important. And I even fall into this trap a lot where like I'll go, fuck my button, or fuck it's this. But it was goddamn way worse. I was calling myself a stupid motherfucker while I was losing to some dude online in 8 frames of delay because I had too much invested into it. Like I don't forget where I came from when I'm saying this. I have no problem like telling you guys like the lowest of my lows or whatever, right? Like you really have to like, oh yeah. Noon went to my local. But yeah, so he or not my local, but the local that I go to. But yeah, sorry, that was a little tangent. But yeah, no, it's a serious thing. Like I went through it so much that I made like a Twitter post. And after I made the Twitter post, I put all that shit out in the open. Like I had people come up and talk to me, right? And they were like, yo, so like I know you're feeling this way when you're playing. Let's talk about it. And like I still have conversations with FatBoi and with Kosdik about it too. Like it's a constant grind that I'm doing to try to improve my mentality. And I feel like that's what's really making me a better player, and not like, like not my actual like OSs that I practiced when I first got in. Like I'm getting to the situation where I go, no, it's okay. Like I'll make this comeback. I have 3 bar. I can roll out of here. Like I can get out. It didn't work out. I laughed. Well, that would have been a sick plan. Move on to the next one. Like much different environment in my head.
Yeah, definitely. Composure is such a big thing in fighting games, and I think that makes fighting games a perfect place to actually develop composure, because so often people just, they hesitate a lot, they lose confidence, and they just, they kind of just die before the match is even over. And I think what Kenshi said about self-perception, that's really, really good advice for a lot of people who are dealing with that kind of thing. Say, when I was playing in the tournament on Saturday, like just this Saturday, I remember I lost against Violent Kane, and then not down to losers. That's fine. And then I lost the first game against Angio because of an execution error. And then at that point, I started actually giving up. I was like, this is a free tournament anyway. I'm probably not going to win. So I just kind of, I didn't play as well as I
right
could.
there,
Yeah,
that fucking
exactly.
moment. That's the killer.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, continue. My bad.
Oh no, that's fine. But on the other hand, but for me, that's actually more of a tournament thing because I don't play that way in casuals or in first to 10 sets or anything. For me, that's tournament is something that I have less experience in. I think Kenshi has more experience with that, simply because I didn't really go to many offline tournaments for KOF 14. I had locals, weeklies and monthlies, and I did okay at them, but they weren't like a major tournament. So it's a very different experience. You don't get to wait a long time for your match and then stress yourself out over it. You gotta maintain composure. I didn't really go through that, so that's why my tournament performance is a little bit lacking compared to other players. But yeah.
Tournament mentality is a whole different beast from just like
It is.
knowing how to play a fighting game to knowing how to play a fighting game in tournament. Completely different things.
Yeah.
Yeah, people don't also give weight to like the nerves, right? Like the
Yes.
nerves. Like everyone has different nerves, right? Some people are gifted and only have to hold 25 pounds of them. And people like me with sweaty palms and fucking crazy, like I feel the weight of the world's on my shoulders. And it's like, I know it's not even a big deal, right? I'm at my local, like I'm on stream, but who cares, right? Like that's what's it's saying in my head, but my body's not agreeing with me. Like I'm sitting there like I have to fight X person, I'm gonna get smoked or like whatever. And I'm like, dude, yeah, but you're here to learn, right? And then like there's like a disconnect where like I wasn't being honest with myself, I guess. Sorry, that was a little tangent. But yeah, like there's a lot. Like as we said, there's so much more to tournament
Yep.
nerves and to tournament mentality than just that. Like if I went, I could talk about this shit all day, but we have guests. I want to let y'all speak too.
Like my mentality is like, I just want to have fun. Like if I do good, I mean, like the way how it is, like I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna like put all my like brain power or whatever into this match when I play in a tournament, or just like when I try to like improve in general. Right, I'm gonna be thinking a lot, and you know, I give people like, how can I put it? I like to like I like to be in a very positive environment, so I try to make everything about it positive. So it feels fun. It feels fun to learn. It's gonna be like a good experience. I'm gonna give people. I play everyone with respect in a way, so I don't like downplay anyone. I will like literally like if we're gonna play the tournament, even though if we're like, how can I put it, not as like equal skill level, I'm still gonna like give give it my all, and I expect the same thing to Angel and all that. And I just come and say, hey, you know what? If he's gonna beat me, I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna go to the lab and I'm gonna freaking, like record it, and I'm gonna be like, okay, what can I do to improve it? Like once you start like being like, oh, I can't figure out what to do, you go into like mentality, go for everything's all negative and shit. You're not gonna have a great time. You're gonna be frustrated. You're not gonna think. You're not gonna think clearly and all that stuff. And the White House is like, when you see something sit, give the person the respect for it. They work for it, right?
Mhm.
But you have to be able to like have like a good balance between you and your mental health, and like be like, okay, you know what? I have to respect this because he got me with this, but what can I do to be able to disrespect it in a way? You get what I'm saying? Because like if you keep what's it called disrespecting it and not like and like try to do dumb shit, you're always gonna get blow up by it, right? So you have to give it the respect that like, hey, this is a good tactic, and I need to like respect it, where I learned like how to counter it, right? And then like that's where you start growing as a player. So like there's always like a balance in how you gotta take things.
Yeah, yeah. I always say, respect the other player as a person, but have a healthy disrespect for the gameplay. Because if you respect your opponent too much, you're not actually going to play too well against them. You're going to be too afraid.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's one of the things I'm struggling with right now. I would say like with against Kosdik specifically, like that's where we are in our game. Like I know a good grip of what he's trying to do to me, but I'm giving him too much respect because he knows how to
Yep.
stop me disrespecting him. So it's been like I'm learning that there's multiple like layers to certain stuff. Like when you get to better players, it's not like, oh, just anti-air here or do this. It's like, no,
Yep.
I need to jab to then make him want to jump, and then I need to react to the situation. I can't jab and then be like, all right, let's see what he does. Okay, he jumped, and then I hit a button. Like, I need to be like, jab, ready for anti-air, or jab and like run up, or like, you know what I mean? Like, there's so much more to getting out of the corner, to getting out of other stuff that you have to think and play around, like your constant ways that you've like your own bad habits, right? That's probably one of the first things most people learn, is to like look at your bad habits. But really, how do you know what habits are bad without that
when
kind, nice
when they
person?
punish it, like, because like it's weird. I'm like if even if you have a bad habit, but if they can't do anything about it, like, why stop?
Exactly,
right?
right. But the example I'm thinking of in particular, right, like, is when for me, when I was on offense, maybe like the come up 3, this is when we had this conversation. But I was like, I'm not doing anything on offense. Like, I'm running my block string. I don't know exactly what I'm doing. Like, I'm trying to frame trap him. It's not working. I'm not getting my grabs, and I'm not like building a game plan around setting all those things up at once, like letting it to be like something and then what's behind door number 2. It was like, let me do my block string and let me get here, right? And it took me to understand that, to even look at the corner situation and see where I was getting hit or see where I was getting wrong, because I was so focused on like, well, my game plan just didn't work. Maybe next time I'll get my game plan to work, right? It's like, no, fuck your game plan. Learn when to abandon it to defend yourself, and then find places to reactivate it. And that itself has helped me monumentally. Like, I don't get steamrolled as much as I used to anymore. Like, when a player is better than me, like by far, I don't get washed. I put up a small fight, and then it's like, all right, did their game plan work? Did mine work? And then it's, now I got to practice my buttons. And I've like come circle to not going from having practicing combos and doing nothing else, not playing everyone, to only playing everyone and not practice my combos. And now I'm in this like middle of like, have to do both.
Nice.
Man, I'm terrible because like my mentality, like when I'm playing tournaments, casuals, it don't matter. I just think everyone sucks, but they might be able to beat me. So I'm gonna make sure that they don't beat me, and if they do beat me, well, that's really fun. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what helped me? I know you guys know this, but this is why like I always like like downplay myself. You know, you guys like, I mean, appreciate that you guys think that, you know, I'm solid and all. I always say I'm trash, and when I win, I'm saying lucky. It's like a mentality.
It's
I
an
like,
OS,
you
bro.
always say that. You always say you're lucky.
yeah, I do.
You got the
Like,
OS on deck.
no matter what happens, oh, I got so lucky. I got lucky there. I got lucky that round.
Yeah, dude. You just gotta embrace the luck, Bill, because you know sometimes like when you don't think things work your way, and then like you just give it your best and try your, it works out. Like, you know, and but then like I always like come in with like a game plan though, like, right, like I'm like, okay, because I try this might help like some people out, I guess, like from beginner getting like to intermediate. So yet I kind of like always test my opponents, right? It's always like on conditioning, and how can you condition your opponent to what you like to do on your tendencies. So like for example, you know how you say you have bad tendencies, like I have bad tendencies with overhead, right? But I developed like a game plan where like, okay, I love overheads, and he knows I love overhead. What happened if I don't use an overhead? Then I just gonna throw it out of the blue, out of nowhere when I feel like using this fucking overhead now. Like I noticed my success chance has been better, right? Like for example, how you're saying like, man, every time I try to like frame trap, I get blown up by DP or something. Like, you ever thought like of, you know, doing like a block string, push him out, show him that you're willing to like give a little breathing space. It kind of gets them to be a little bit more hesitant to challenge with a DP. And then like they might, and when you push them away, they probably think like, okay, this is where he usually like to push me, and it look like I have a chance to press a button. Then you try to see if he presses a button. Then that's where like, okay, now I'm gonna bring the frame trap again. You get what I'm saying? It's like layering your like your strategy in a way. And like that's how I play. Like and then like I'm like shit. I did this, I did that. Then like even though I'm losing, but I have 2 meter, and he has 50% HP, and I only have like a third left, and the payout rewarded on like layering your strategy, right? Like during the fight.
Yeah, having a layered strategy for your offense that you're trying to run is so important. Like defending yourself in a certain way that's going to let your offense like just mixing up your ideas and like having the ideas planned out enough where like I've done this too much, this is predictable now. Like I'll even say it out loud when I do it a lot. I'm like, predictable.
Yeah, I tell myself that all the time too. I mean, I feel you on.
Like I can actually talk about this. Purest, the last time that me and you played like a long set, right? We had it wasn't a back and forth. Like definitely not. It was like I think it was like 9-2. I had 2 games total. But like there was a point in time where I felt like I was figuring you out, and I was like, oh my God, like Purest is beatable. Like he before was like this titan, because when I went in, like my first experience to seeing you play was in Sanchez's tournament. Oh man, I'm trying to think of the name of it. But anywho, or maybe we just played online. I'm not sure. But yeah, I was like, oh shit, like I'm beatable. It's like, this is beatable. And then you were like last one for real, and you smoked the fuck out of me. Like
Really?
I don't think I have ever gotten my ass handed to me on hard reads as hard as you handed me my ass. So like that's what I'm saying when like there's layers to a game plan, understanding how to defend yourself, understanding when defending yourself, that there's another layer of like, now they don't want to do this, so this offense will open this door, right? He would jump see me with Nelson, and then I would be like, all right, bet, because he would rehop, and then he was like conditioning me with this one range, and he started playing around it like crazy, and I was like, oh shit, I can't approach anymore, and then he threw me, and I was like, this motherfucker's in my head, and he never left. And then he said GG's, and
Oh really?
no, I'm not personally mad, I'm just passionate, you know what I mean? But that shit's fun to me, you know what I mean? Like having that back and forth, like, oh shit, he read me that much. That shows me like that I was that predictable throughout our set, and through a 1st to 10 you were able to figure out what I wanted to do and punish me for it 90% of the time. And getting to that level requires such a like calming of oneself, right? Or at least like a release of ego, I guess, where as FatBoi's calling himself trash, right? Like
I'd
that's
say
adjacent.
a lot of it has to do with your ability to be calm enough to observe the other player.
Yeah.
Because if you're too wrapped up in your own game plan, like, oh, I want to do this to him, I want to do that to him, you're kind of ignoring what the other player's going to do, and you're just going to run into stuff. So that's why these days when I play, I actually try to play as calmly as possible, and I try to slow down the match. When you're able to slow down the match, the other player starts to feel confused, because most people in KOF 14 and in KOF in general just go in on each other all the time. And I think that's why a lot of players don't get very good, because everyone just runs face first into each other's attacks. And when you play in such a way that you don't give the other player free hits, then they have to stretch their creative imagination. They have to stretch their creativity, or else they can't really land anything on you. So I think it's a lot of it is staying calm enough so that you can actually look at what the other player is doing and analyze them, and then come up with a counter strategy, read them, read their tendencies, all that stuff.
And the strength there that I didn't see before, like for those at home, like that I didn't see before there, like was you now are ready, because you're at such a distance that if they decide I'm going to go crazy and they jump and press D, right? Or something like that, like full jump, press D all the way up in the top of the air. Like, oh, because I was waiting and trying to see if they were going to do something crazy, they did something kind of crazy. You don't see an MMA fighter jump up like right in the air and then throw like a kick right in front of them, thinking that their opponent's going to walk into it, right? But this fact you can jump in KOF changes that. So therefore, like, oh, they were probably trying to hit me in the air for coming up at them. They want to hit me in the air. What can I do with this information? Like, if we're at this distance again, can I whiff punish them if I decide to run? Can I do a pseudo jump and make them kind of think that I'm going to jump? Oh, I got hit for doing the pseudo jump. Maybe it wasn't a bad idea, but I can see the pattern, like, you know, and just working through.
Mm-hmm.
That took me so long to see. I feel so stupid after I actually started to understand that. I was like, you got to be kidding me. No wonder I die.
I don't know, because I think the mechanics in KOF games are a little bit deceptive, because I personally feel KOF mechanics are pretty simple. Like 4 jumps, that's not I don't think that's too much. And then rolls, runs, backdash, and then, you know, quick rise versus slow rise. Once you figure out the mechanics, a lot of the once you get better and play against better players, the more the game is about just reads. Like, okay, I'm gonna jump, and where am I gonna place the attack? Because if the other player jumps at the same time, am I going for a jump in? If I am, it's gonna be beat by an air to air. Okay, so he read me better that time. He won the neutral. He earned a mix up, and so the game really becomes like good reads in neutral into earned mix-up situations. So it's not so much well, mechanics are important, but once both players are good at the mechanics, it's really read heavy at higher levels.
Well,
I think that's not very apparent when you're at a intermediate or learning phase.
Yeah, now that you said that, that kind of like goes along with a theory I've had. I had this theory that like sorry, excuse me, clear my throat. In neutral, when you win neutral, that's when you can start activating your game plan, right? That's when you earn the thing you want to do to people. Like, if you successfully do it when you first run up and you're like, ha, I'm godlike, cool. Like, you got it. You made a hard read or something like that, or did some offense that's hard to deal with. Okay. But when you start earning, like, all right, now every time he tries to approach, I can stuff it, or like I'm safe enough where he's going to have to commit to 2 things and I have time to watch him and other stuff. Like, that's when you start to earn your game plan. Okay, cool. I can activate off of this point. Okay, this is a common area that this activates after I anti-air. So this character is really strong after you anti-air. Like, that character earns different shit.
That's why certain characters just are ass in KOF and shouldn't play those characters. Yeah, like even if you like them a lot. But if you want to compete, then you definitely want to avoid some characters.
Yeah, like Alice should not get Oki after a DP. That is not okay.
Oh yeah,
that is not okay. I will continue to play her, but that is not okay.
It's hella okay.
I don't know. I think it's fine. I don't play her, and I think it's fine.
Oh, fair enough.
Don't get DP'd.
There you go. See, there you go. All right.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, they could play her. Why don't they play her then?
Right.
I think she's boring. That's why I don't play her. There's nothing to really play. Just she's so much of a toolkit. Just does so much, and I don't really like that.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I'm just saying, like, you know how people complain about, like, you know, characters being top being OP, but no one's stopping you. So
that's the whole reason I picked up Iori.
Right. So it's up. So now, like, since you put yourself in a situation, you as a player, you have to figure out how to counter it to the best of your ability, you know.
Yeah.
And a lot of people cry about tier like these characters being strong, and it's like, you know, it's like, well, they're strong, you don't want to deal with it. Like, how do you grow as a player from there? You know, like, you're just gonna keep like saying dumb shit and not try to figure out what to do against it. Like, you're only gonna make yourself worse. Like, you know, like, everyone says Terry is bad, but I found ways to make Terry work. I didn't give up on Terry. I just kept playing Terry. I just did my best to, you know, my ability to work with his toolkits. I don't know. I was able to make him work. So.
Yep. And I played Rio, so.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
I play Kyo in Vanilla 02. He's not good there. I make it work. I play him in every game, though.
People just gotta get good and learn how to deal with it. If a DP leads too much, then don't get hit by DP, like you said.
Yep. Yeah, I guess the other thing we were talking about earlier was that Nate was talking about how, so you win neutral, you earn a mix-up. Okay, now here's the thing that I wanted to say. do you have a comprehensive game plan to open up the other player or make the other player feel uncomfortable blocking when you do earn a mix-up? Because if you don't, then the mix-up is kind of useless.
Yeah, they're just gonna block you.
Yep. And against better and better players, you don't get many opportunities at mix-ups, so you really got to make them count. And that is incredibly difficult because at that level, their defense is already really good. So it's even harder to open them up. So a lot of damage really comes from just neutral, good reason neutral, stray hits. And if someone's lucky and someone messes up their defense, they'll get a combo in. But you watch higher level gameplay, it's a lot of stray hits, a lot of hits in neutral, and then an attempt in mix up, and then back to neutral. So your mix-up game's got to be really good to take advantage of that.
And that's where that grind set comes in.
That's why like better players, like when they get a knockdown, they're fucking dude. They got option selects. Their freaking offense is tight.
Yep.
Like their meaty's on point. It's another level. And then like if you can get them off of you and you can get in on them and their neutral is better than you, that's why the game could get hella overwhelming for like newer players.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, you have no idea what to do.
Yeah, newer players don't know how to move as much. They move in like a layer one movement. Like they see the other players there, I want to hit them there, but they don't anticipate that the other player can also move and interrupt them. And then the many layers of is the other player going to move in or backdash? I can move in to bait out some movement or attack. Just newer players don't really think about that, so it's the skill gap is quite difficult to overcome.
Yeah, when you get put
that's
in
why
the
learning
corner.
to move in KOF is hella important because being able to move and defend your space like properly, it definitely like helps like the neutral game. You got to make yourself unpredictable because if you feel like you're always just like moving forward, trying to like have an offense, like people just be like, I'm gonna throw this out, this out, and then like when they're actually tagging you, you're feeling frustrated and they're feeling them. Everything just goes downhill from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a good example of that would be like the Hydern matchup. So if you're not used to fighting Hydern and he's just sitting down back, what are you supposed to do? Because when I play against certain less experienced players or intermediate players or just players who don't have
you can just say me.
I don't know.
Damn.
I mean, not just you. Okay. So several players, but they kind of run up to a spacing where they're afraid, and then they kind of just stop there, and then they're not really sure what to do. So okay, here's how you want to fight Hydern. Okay, run up, backdash, run up, roll, back roll at different points. What you're trying to do is make him feel uncomfortable with throwing out a moon slasher. And the second thing you want to do is try to get rid of his down charge. So whenever you see him stand up or jump, that's your key to make him move. So you run up, backdash, run up, back roll, make him feel uncomfortable, and as soon as he moves, he's probably just lost that charge, and that's your opportunity to go in.
Yep, and work on your ground game because Hydern is like, dude, all they have to do is just move that thing up and hit punch.
Yep.
So it's hella easy for them to actually counter your jumping attacks. So you want to play a ground game against them, and when you've seen an opportunity to jump in, then that's when your opportunity to jump in and like jump B over fireballs on certain distances, back up and block, play with your spacing, but you have to remember you can't back yourself up to the wall. But
so would you say that like playing against characters like Hyder and like charge characters in general that can have those kind of moves, that you need to play more of the matchup there too as well to get the player to trip up?
You have to play the matchup, right? Because like Hyder will if you don't play right, Hyder could definitely like take his turn, and he feels like you're scared, he's gonna take his turn.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to stand your ground.
Yeah, the same thing goes. Same thing is with Meiten-kun, because both characters have really strong zoning and lockdown gameplay. Like you pretty much have to respect their game plan. You don't really have a choice, but you can try to disrupt their game plan, and that's what you should try to do. I think it's easier to disrupt Hydern's game plan than Meiten-kun's, to be honest. I have a lot of trouble against Meitenkun.
Yeah, Tamsun's
I
Mei
think-
Kun has been giving me the ringer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be tough, especially when you don't know the matchup.
Yeah. Yeah, I hate fighting Mei Kun as well, Giuseppe, but we all got to learn. So Captain Sleepy Boy is going to have to keep womping us until we figure it out, you know what I mean? Or we can just lab it, I
He's-
guess.
A lot of people don't do that.
Yeah,
Oh,
what's
shit.
labbing?
Never heard of.
Is that the thing where I do combos forever and go, man, this is sick, but not optimal?
Yep.
Okay, sick.
Yep.
I've actually been labbing a lot of safe jumps lately. I think that's kind of fun.
Yeah, I
Like
need
Rio
to lab
has
more safe
Rio
jumps.
has a bunch. Oswald has like 2 relevant ones. Hydern has like 2. For some reason, Rio just has a bunch of weird ones. Like in the corner, it's like if they get a hard knockdown or hard slow wake up, he gets like a 3-frame safe jump. But if they quick rise, it changes into like 5-frame safe jump or something like that. It's for some reason he has a bunch, and then he's really bad. So yeah.
Yeah,
But
the
it's
risk
fun.
of
It's
the-
fun labbing safe jumps. Because when you find one, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, especially when you do one that looks like different compared to like what people are not used to seeing, and then you just pull it out of your ass in the middle of a match out of nowhere, and
Yeah.
they get hit by it.
Hmm. I used to value damage over knockdown situation, but now when I watch and play against Deshimo, every knockdown is a mix-up. It's like, oh my god, every knockdown's a hard knockdown into a nasty mix-up, and that's why he's so good. He's got it all figured out and planned out ahead of time.
Yeah, he's constantly like doing the
Crazy.
chess player thing where like you put yourself at micro advantage. Like it's like, oh, well, I mean, like maybe I didn't kill your character here, but this sets me up for a situation
Oh,
into
yeah.
another situation, right? Like
Mhm.
it's setting me up. You're maybe not be getting comboed, but you're getting comboed outside of like the combo counter. Like now
Yeah.
you're still in the pressure. Like when are you out? Like you need to find your way out.
Yeah, high level play is pretty nasty. It's quite different than at the intermediate levels because they really specialize in the characters. They know that the game is like partly about reads, but also character specialization is really important as well. And players at the middling levels don't really see that, I think, because KOF's always been a game where it's kind of like you learn a couple characters. Okay, now I can play the majority of the cast, and so people don't specialize as much as they should.
Yeah, where you get the nuances of the little bits of characters, like Rio's safe jumps, like you were just talking about.
Yeah,
It's crazy because like KOF system allows you to do that in a way, right? But then yeah, people do overlook about character specialization, matchups, like every little thing,
yep,
every little details, and those like people who keep playing their characters, like dude, they got these mixes, they know this match. It's like fuck, they hit you with shit that like you thought it was safe, but it's not safe because it worked on certain characters. That's where they have the little upper edge against you when it comes to like competitive play.
yeah,
Yeah, that kind of stuff is hard, you know, like when you don't see it and it doesn't get explained to you. I mean, it kind of circling back, I guess, but like that's the part of the mentality where people get stuck and you need to like voice your opinion and ask questions and even
Oh,
if it's
yeah.
to the void, right? Like it doesn't like you just have to get that shit out there. Like, don't put it out as like I fucking hate Shune and he's a bitch ass with a pant leg rolled up. Like, don't do that shit. But like man, fucking Shune can jump CD and then he can do a super afterwards. That shit's fucking stupid and I hate it. Oh well, it sounds like you're having a problem with CD. You know, like if you're not if you're not gonna be an ass, we can help you out. You know, but just do what you
If
need
I'm
to do.
ever, like, not to cut you off, but
No,
if
you're
I'm
good.
ever complaining about something, I always try to complain in the form of a question.
Yeah.
Because if it's something I genuinely don't understand, it irritates the living hell out of me. So like I will complain in the form of a question so I understand it later. Because like I'm at a level with KOF 14 and I would say O2 Vanilla that there's not too much I don't understand about the game. So when something trips me up, it's like, oh, I don't know. I'm mad. I need
Yeah.
to find out. Someone needs to tell me because like some of those things, like especially with O2 Vanilla or just old KOF in general, old fighting games in general, they don't have proper training modes to find the answer on your own. KOF 14 thankfully does, so there's a lot of times where I'll just look at the replay, look at the situation that happened, and I'm like, oh, this is why this happened. Like, everyone in 1.0 was complaining about Nakaruru, and I'm like, I can deal with her. So, like, I always make it a point, if I'm going to complain, I need to complain in a form of a question. Like, so-and-so doesn't make any sense. How do I beat it? I really don't like dealing with this. It's so dumb to me, but how do I beat it? Rather than, this shit's broken, it needs nerfed, I'm not playing until they fix this. Like, I never think like that. I always think, how do I beat this? Even if I'm mad, I'm just like, how do I beat this?
Yeah, that's a good way to go about it, And
That's the way how I see it too. Like that's why I question myself a lot, and like I low key like I just fucking go record that shit, right? Figure out what you could do in that situation, like what you could do in certain space when they whiff it, whatever it is, right? You have to like literally go lab that, and I noticed that like not a lot of people don't lab it. They try to do it in the middle of a match, and they fucking fuck it up, scuff it up, and they get the shit slapped, and they just get fucking frustrated again. Like, you guys gotta go take that shit to the lab, man.
Yeah, like if you're not gonna lab it, you need to ask someone who's already labbed it, so you can just get the answer fast.
Yeah, having a team or a group of people to be able to bounce ideas off of is like super important. That's one thing I think I underestimated when I first started, because I thought everyone's out here just like, oh, I'm keeping this shit close to my chest. I've always been like, yo, this is a sick tech. Like, I just came up with it. You guys want to see it? Like, I'm not trying to like smoke everybody with it. I just have a love of the game,
Yeah, I feel like something that is starting to be a little bit more prevalent in the North American FGC in general, is theory fighting, like post-game theory fighting with your opponent, because for the longest time, I didn't see anyone do that, and I wasn't ever willing to do that when I was, let's just say 4 years ago, right? 2017, I didn't really do that, but, as I went to more tournaments and, like, things, like, I plateaued, that's when I started doing that more, is like, I need to figure this out. This person is doing this. Let me talk with them. And if you're just like theory fighting with your opponent, like after the match, it's never really that toxic. People will like skip that phase. They'll just be like, I don't want any advice, or they'll be like really mean to their opponent if they're like try hard. I think that's dumb. You need to theory fight more. Don't just have the edge on your opponent, because let's be real. Someone will come around that is better than you and will know how to deal with the bullshit that you're pulling off on this, passionate player. And and it won't work anymore. And because you didn't lab it with passionate, you didn't theory fight it with passionate, you don't know how to deal with it when this new player is like stopping what you usually do. You don't know how to deal with it because you didn't help this new other player be able to deal with you. I always tell people how to beat me.
Yeah, exactly. You beat me, I can beat.
That is so good for me.
Exactly.
Like if you can beat me, that is so good for me, because 1, it's humbling, 2, it shows me what I need to work on, and 3, it helps me get better. People need to start doing it even more than they're already doing it, but stop focusing on winning and start focusing on overall improvement of the community, because you can only get stronger that way. You will never plateau if you constantly help other people learn how to deal with what you're doing.
Yeah, whenever I play, I like to have a long post-match discussion, like as long as we can, just go over absolutely everything. That's what Juicebox and me and I do every time we play. Just we play for a bit and then like 1 hour long discussion of just everything that went on, and that's super helpful. And not only is it super helpful, I find it super fun and interesting as well. Because if you're gonna spend any time playing fighting games at all, might as well take it as as a hobby that you really get into, one that you can talk to people with, and discuss the intricacies of the game, and really get down to how to improve, how each other can improve, how you can help each other improve. I think that's just natural, and I'm not sure why more people don't do that as much. It's kind of weird.
I think it's an ego thing. I've been following your Twitter for a while, and you like talk a lot about like letting go of your ego, right? Like if
I guess
if
so.
you hold on to this like reservation that, like, as we were talking earlier, like you're so focused on what you were doing and what you
Yeah.
didn't get off, right? Someone telling you to think about something differently than you didn't succeed, that's gonna like immediately against the grain, like you have to be willing to go through that, and it
Yep.
takes a certain type of gusto
Oh,
to
I
be
guess
able to
that is
handle
true.
that.
Yeah. Hmm.
And so
Yeah,
at least that's
I
how
guess
I
it
see it.
depends on the personality. Yeah. Yeah.
Like for me, I was a
I was.
little
Yeah.
wussy
Go
on
ahead.
that forever. Like I hated
Oh.
when people would tell me like, "Oh, you should do this," but that was in that toxic period where I was like yelling at myself, like, "You stupid fucking idiot! Why'd you super dash?" Or like,
I see.
you
Yeah.
like stuff like that. And so when I'm there, and like I'm in that moment in time, and you go, "Hey man, it's cool. All you need to do is like use a stand B. It'll stop me from being able to anti-air you." I'm like, "All I need to do, huh? That's all I needed to fucking do to win?" Yeah, right. Whatever,
Oh.
man. Like that's kind of like I feel like some people forget that. Like that is a certain rage that goes inside of some people. Like maybe not
Mhm.
everyone's had that, right? Maybe you through life had a relative that helped you become more level-headed about your self-confidence, or maybe you have an SO that really helps you out with that kind of stuff, But it's so many pieces of puzzles that pieces to the puzzle of life that brings the person to KOF,
Yeah,
and whatever
definitely.
mentality. And that's why I think people talk so much about like arcade era being sad that it's gone, because when you'd show up at the arcade, you'd have the person in front of you at least.
Yeah, I think an important thing to note is learning to take constructive criticism without wearing your heart on your sleeve is a skill in its own.
Yeah, I
That's
would agree
something
with
that
that.
you have to learn how to learn.
Yep.
I mean, at the same time, your opponent probably shouldn't be berating you, but if they're not berating you and you're taking it like they are, that's on you. That's not on your opponent. And there's plenty of times where I've seen like lower level players get offended from advice that isn't really offensive. It's just, advice.
Yeah.
But because they don't know how to take advice without feeling some type of way, feeling offended, feeling attacked, it's you gotta let that go.
Yeah,
Like,
I feel like these are like lifelong developments
Yeah.
because like some people, they can get to their 40s, 50s, and they're still dealing with this stuff. So it's definitely something that affects people very strongly. But I think in the context of fighting games, one thing that makes it easier to do that is to simply focus on improvement. Like, okay, my goal is to learn the game and get better at it. So if this person says something and they're more experienced or they beat me, they probably know something more. They probably know more than me about this game. So I should try to pick apart what they say, try to figure out what's useful. And I think just having that kind of perspective, that kind of approach, like, okay, I'm playing to learn and improve. I think that in and of itself kind of reduces the impact of the ego a little bit,
Yeah, because
like
every
your
time you
attachment
walk
to.
in the ring, right, you're just trying to do better than last time. And as long as
Yeah.
like you're building and constructing a plan while you're doing that, and you're not just kind of like going in being like, I'm gonna out neutral this guy every single time, or something like
Mhm.
that, like you have a assault. You just being in that spot puts you ready for everything we've been talking about in general too.
Yeah, like whenever I play like Violent Kano on PS4, my goal is to learn as much as I can because beating him in a casual doesn't mean anything. Like it literally means nothing. Maybe you beat him on stream and that's kind of exciting, and it is exciting, but really when you play against valuable players like that, you want to play to learn as much as you can.
Yeah.
And then when that's your perspective, I find it very difficult to actually get your ego involved with that, because to me it's all just positive and constructive. So there's no reason to be be egotistical about things.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, and I agree with Battle Spectrum. He said, the journey with improvement makes playing fighting games so enjoyable, regardless of the outcome of your matches. I completely agree.
Yep.
Yeah. There's so
Yeah,
many
same here.
times I've had first to tens with Fatboy where I finally got one character in the whole 10-0, and it was like, I got it. I was able to figure it out once. Maybe he was slipping, who knows? But I was able to make it happen once. And then that got me in the mindset of like, let's watch these matches. I had one win. There's a little spark. You got to be able to take your little victories with
Yep.
with
Yeah,
your
that
improvement.
is so important. That is so important. Is like appreciate the little victories. Like even if you don't win the match, hey, you won neutral in this situation. Hey, you killed this character in this situation. Hey, you did this. Like when before you weren't able to. I think that's so super important. That's one of the things that I learned to do with O2, like vanilla, that helped me get better.
Oh, snap.
Oh man. Fucking Rome
Sorry,
himself
sorry,
in this
everybody.
goddamn
Yeah, I was about
chat.
to say the podcast is on a slight hold. We just had an intruder. We're hosting
We had
Stone
a
Cold
real
Steve Austin.
intruder right
He was-
here.
Rome himself was here last week, but I think I should know him as CM Punk. Am I correct?
Theme song
Man.
just played.
Theme song just. Yes, beautiful, beautiful. Oh man.
Rome himself, you take your little candy ass back to the commentary booth with Elkie the King Dory, where you belong. You stop playing the game because you are shit, and that's the bottom line, Rome himself.
God damn. See, this is a
I'm sorry,
mentality
I didn't
podcast.
mean to drop a promo right there. I just had to.
No, hey, do it, man. Whatever your heart felt like at that moment, that felt right to me. Like that was. I'm happy with it.
I fucking love Rome. So cool. Oh man. And now, we have this pseudo rivalry, this real rivalry, because he's definitely losing to me in KOF 15 when that
He
game
says
comes
it's a
out.
war, actually.
It is war. Raw
war.
is war.
Oh shit. Raw, no SmackDown. Oh man. So I guess where were we, right? Because I do want to touch up on that promo later, but we still have a good chunk.
I'm sorry.
No. You can. Hey, you know what?
You know what?
If I was in your shoes at the same moment and his name came in here, right? My eyes would go red too, dude. I would see nothing but, I understand the blood feud you guys have going on. It's real shit. Cap.
Yeah, I think we were talking about like taking advice, and also like celebrating small victories,
Oh
improvements.
yeah.
We were talking
yeah,
about that.
Fuck
Go ahead,
you and
Fatboy.
your egos, whoever has egos, man. Like, for real, though, like, some of the best players in the world don't even have an ego, dude. I fucking hate people who are egotistic.
Yeah,
This is-
same.
But I'm fucking
come
sick,
on.
bro. Look at me schmoove. You see that CD in the max mode I got one time?
CD's
I'm
nuts?
fucking I'm godlike. What? Yeah, CD's nuts, fool. That's for 15. Man, I can't believe I said that like 400 times on one tournament.
Hey, I don't hate.
But in the celebrating the little victories, I have a little story to share here. So one of the things that I started working on after the final come up that just happened, I had to reevaluate the way I was deciding to start my offense. And I started to look at the little victories I had from the match with Party Barge and then try to decide where it went wrong, right? Because that negative feeling that we're talking about like you don't get your offense going or you don't get whatever, it doesn't go away. It just gets moved to the next part of the game that's the hardest for you. So if I have a problem anti-airing, then I'm going to have to learn how to anti-air. If I get better at anti-airing, I'm going to have to get better at what comes next. What comes next is that next part that I have to figure out, and that's where it's going to be the most stuttered and the most uncomfortable for the next bit. And So when you do get your little victory and then it doesn't work out right afterwards, you just don't know enough. Don't beat yourself up over it. That's exactly where you need to lab. That moment in time where you've made the mistake and you've identified the mistake, or maybe you don't think it's a mistake yet, but what can you do else differently, right? What can you do in that spot to make that little victory a larger victory? And that's how you really play to your strengths as a player, being able to identify certain things. Because maybe you just can't, for some reason, tech grabs, like whatever, like your button doesn't work. Pick an excuse, right? But when you start then training yourself to tech grabs and you're like, oh shit, I teched it, that's sick, what's the post grab situation, right? There's always going to be something next, and you can't beat yourself up over the thing that's next, because that's where I got stuck for a really long time.
Yeah, that's a great point, because one of the experiences when you're learning the game and then you're playing someone when there's a skill gap, what happens is you might do something right, you might get a good guess, but then immediately they beat you out of the next thing, and then you can't really do anything anymore. And that just repeatedly happens over and over. Like you get something started and then you repeatedly get beat back. Well, that's just a skill gap. That's not really you messing up. That's the other player just reading you and doing the right thing. And then that's a great point you brought up, that celebrate the first victory and then lab what comes next. And then that's exactly where you need to be.
That's how you make the chain mail, right? It's not just one long piece of, metal. Like, that shit's outdated. It's like a bunch of different ones, They all have to come together, the web, because that's even where you get your mix-ups off of, right? That's where you activate your game plan. What do you want to do there? What you were doing before wasn't working. Why wasn't it working? You find out that's a really good key. You can have other players show it to you, but you can also find that in your own failures, right? Like where you're like, that was super sick, but it didn't work out. And not just drop combos, because that's another thing I want to talk about, not for super long, but like when you drop a combo and then like the opponent starts to like get their offense started or something like that because you messed up, right? That's another like weird interaction that people have with mentality of like, fuck, I dropped it, and then how do you like recover from that? But
I guess so. Yeah.
But
Some people are too attached to like performing well or making mistakes. They add too much meaning onto that, and they beat themselves up too much.
I truly have the question of where it's like, where is one person's ego, right? In that, like someone who would get mad about that, of like dropping it all the time. Because there's times I'll be like, my execution shit. And then like I'll hear my friends tell me like, stop talking about your execution and just execute. Oh shit, okay. But like when people get like that and they're like super pissed, like, I could have won but I dropped that combo, or I could have done this, I dropped that combo, like, are they more worried about looking bad, or do they really feel like inside like that's really bad? Like I wonder what the ratio is there between the two.
I would have no idea. But I think that totally depends on the person. Like it could be anything really, like any kind of personal issues that lead them to act that way in the face of video game failure. It's pretty complicated. You want to get into that, it's all just psychology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have to dig deep into it. It's just one of those, I love like to postulate about that kind of stuff though. I feel it helps me have a better understanding of people I don't understand,
Yeah.
Well, I say even like pro players drop combos and shit all the time. You have when you see matches get hella intense. I mean, you see like players fucking fumble just even during the neutral. Like it's just how you handle the situation, to be honest. Because like I have watched like matches where even Violent Kane drops stuff he shouldn't drop, or even like it's gonna happen nonetheless, right? It's how you recover from it. I say like you shouldn't really think about it too much, and just work on improving and doing it.
Yeah.
And it's only gonna keep getting better. Like same thing. How I always bring this shit up. Like I think my fucking anti-air sucks, right? But lately, like I spend like a week or two just try to get a DP in when I see jump-ins, and now I'm like actually like, you know, DPing fucking short hops and shit. You know, like back in the days I wasn't able to do that, but you know, I just say nah, it's gonna happen. You're gonna have to practice. It's just all about dipping your toes in and just getting comfortable with it. You know?
Yep.
And that's why these tournament, that's how these that's all good. That's how these tournament players. That's why they keep playing in tournaments, because that's the only way they're gonna work on these nerves. When you're on the big stage, when everyone's freaking looking at you, pointing fingers at you, and all that dumb shit. That's why they're always there. So like, you know, they get that experience, and you know, shit like that doesn't phase them. And the only thing that make that phases them is actually not the crowd anymore. Is now it's just like the other player. You know, worry about the other player. If you are very like frustrated yourself, you're like doing the other player a freaking favor. You know, like don't beat yourself over it. That's the only way. Like, you know, I see it. I'm pretty sure other people see it.
Yeah, if you constantly go to tournaments and you're consistently grinding, like, I don't know about y'all, but for me, like, the effect of the tournament and like the lights and all that other stuff, it feels like second nature. Like, that's not for me anymore, if that makes sense. Like, when I first went to tournaments or events or stuff like that, it was like, oh shit, this is a big event. This is sick. I get to meet people and stuff like that. But like, that's not the way now, right? I don't have any of that anymore. Like, I'm more of like focused on, oh, I've got these friends that I've met and made connections with. We grind all the time, this stuff like that. It's not like I'm cold walking into something like that. Like, there's a different vision and purpose. And like, I feel like I'm on not the precipice of what you were just talking about, where like, oh, it no longer matters about the tournament and the players, but I feel like I'm like kind of getting there. Like, I can feel that sense of weight that I had from all that start to peel off, and now it's just like, let me just focus on me and the cool shit I want to do, like, and then and rock. And if I win, I win. If I win, it's a reward of my practice. Like, and if I lose, then I just know what I need to practice. And if I keep that mentality and keep grinding, and don't like sleep on a match that I lost or something like that, I'll slowly start to grind and get my way up. I think break out that mentality.
Yeah, that's the way to start, man.
Yeah. I was talking to a newbie in KOF 14 the other day. He was saying how like he was practicing his low B max kick confirms. He's like, I know what to do in game, but I can't seem to land it. And I basically told him, yeah, play 1,000 more games, you'll land it, and you won't care when you mess up. That's pretty much my answer to that kind of thing. Like, if you're beating yourself up because of underperformance or something, just play like 1,000 more games until you don't care.
Yep.
Man, that's kind of hard to tell somebody though, right? Like,
yeah, it is.
You're like, it's like, oh man, I care so much that I fucked up here. I want to get better. And it was like, hey man, you put your hand on their shoulder. Eventually you won't care. And it's like, oh, sick. You know, even though that's solid fucking advice, because it's true. It's like, it's like when you tell someone don't do something that's bad, right? Like they'll be like, well, I want to do it anyway. Or something like that, right?
Yep.
Like they'll have that little inkling or a little whatever.
Yeah.
But that's why I think play more games is like the best and the worst advice at the same time. Because if you get it, you get it. If you don't, then you're fucked. Like you might have just totally pushed someone away. So it scares me when I see that. But at the same time, it's such good advice, because once you do play more games, you'll see more situations. And you need to consider, it's like fighting games are not like a linear tree, right? Like you kind of have like a skill tree that you invest points in, right? Like, do I want to be more offensive? Do I want to focus more on neutral or stuff like that? It's like you can avoid a skill tree entirely. And like that's where it's kind of hard to pinpoint. At least that's what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to pinpoint that little like, oh, this guy, when I'm fighting him, he has offense and he has defense. Does he have reactions? Let me test his reactions here. Okay, he's got reactions. If he's got reactions, I can bait him. So now that opens this thing up. And I didn't know any of that when I first started playing Dragon Ball, and I'm sitting next to Subatomic Sabers. He 2-0s me, and I say, how do I get better? A, he can't do anything with that question. And B, play more games is the only thing that would even work in that situation. And so he told me that. I got mad. I went home, I played more games, and now I'm here, right? Like, it is what it is. I don't know. Mentality's fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah, but yeah, something you said just before, you're seeing how you're starting to assess the other player, like, oh, did they have offense, do you have defense, or the reaction, do you have good reactions? That's actually a really good place to be. That shows that you're reaching kind of like the next level, because now you're thinking in terms of the other player, which is what you need to do, what a lot of intermediate players need to do. And I think that's a really good place to be. Just starting to download the other player, assess them, test their skills. That's really, really good.
Yeah, because if all you got is a jump D, let's just say you don't know combos, but you know jump D, right? You got to find a way to set up jump D that'll make it work. Like, whether it's stopping them in neutral, whether it's whatever. Like, if you removed all the stuff from your kit and the only thing you could do is jump D, eventually the other player is going to find a way to go around that, and they're going to force their way around that, and they're going to tunnel around that. That's why I will sit there and run straight at your fucking face and let you hit me, because you think I'm going to continually do that. Like, I mean, I do it in casuals, you know what I mean? But like,
Yeah.
I understand, like, I have to get into your head if I'm going to make this safe player play offense. Sometimes it's like I'll play crazy, just be like, what the fuck is this dude doing? That's why I love Trunks so much in Dragon Ball. At any moment in time, I can create a spherical ball of death and go wherever I want. And I also have the chance to not fucking do that. But if I show you that I'm never going to do that, then you'll never respect it or put yourself in a situation to beat it. So like, and it's getting to that point. It's so complex. I thought I worded that in a way that it would make sense to people who don't play fighting games, but I probably doesn't. Man.
I think I'm following you. Yeah. Yeah, I totally lost my train of thought.
Yeah, my fault. I talk a lot.
It's all good.
That's why we made a podcast.
But yeah, talking about like opening up or trying to make the other player play less safe. Like, if a player is really turtling, that's actually something I like to do. I like to just corner myself and see, like, do you have the offense to make me do anything at all? Because if I corner myself and I still win, that's a sign that your offense is not very well developed.
Yeah, their offense is below your defense.
Yeah.
I do that all the time against you guys.
Yes, you do. You let me put you in the corner, and I'm like, Fat Boy, why did you give me this? And then you run some like rolled out defense, and I'm like, I was ready for that. What are you doing? And then you do it again. And I was like, okay, I'll try to be ready for it every fucking time. And then I'm in the corner and I die.
The reason why I like to do it sometimes, because like it allows me to see how they like to approach, how can I defend myself. If I put myself in a like shittier position, like how would I do if I'm in a better position? I don't know. It's kind of weird. I'm very weird. Maybe
it's important though. Like, that's a good. I mean, putting yourself in danger is never like the most optimal, right? But it's sometimes can lead you to like a better situation in the long run, right? You know what they want to do on offense now because you let them in and they didn't open you up. Or maybe they did open you up, but now you know how they like to open up, at least for the first round, right? And like as time goes on and the match kind of like fizzles out and they stop mixing up their offense as much, you start to get used to like the situations that they like to create for the run up. Like, oh, I noticed that they did a crouch B into run up command grab. So I'm going to just do a neutral jump after that crouch B. And if I get hit, I get hit, but they're far enough away that they'll have to max confirm and they'll miss the second whiff. Like, there's little bits of that I've been trying to like really hunker down in my own offense to be able to like manipulate and translate it to other people in like a very, very dumbed down way.
Yeah, true that. Another thing too, like it allows me to like test my defense against them also. And if they make a bad mistake, I could also put them in a corner, and then I get to test them how they defend and fill themselves out in the corner. Because like if you notice like the way how I play, like I like doing things that pushes you to the corner. Like, you notice like how I end all my combos. Like I try to push you over there, like with Keo and with Terry.
Mm-hmm.
like all my combos ender mainly ends up pushing the corner and getting myself a like knockdown, like a hard knockdown. Then I test my offense, my mix, my conditioning. Then from there I like try to get information. How do you like to wake up? What do you do when you're like pinned to the ground? Then I just take that as little information and I just take guesses. Like, oh, is he gonna roll? Let me stand here. If he's gonna jump, I'm gonna DP. Let's see if he just chills, and if he's just gonna dog me, wait for me to do something, then I'm just gonna try to whittle down that guard gauge if I can. Just like little shit like that.
Yeah, and in the moments that you're waiting, right, the other player, when they're making a decision, sometimes it's a panic decision, especially with like the roll stuff. Like they're like, oh, he might throw a fireball. Let me get the fuck out of this corner. Like they might have been blocking and gotten like to half guard gauge, right? Like there's levels to the stuff, and like if you're not on the receiving end, or if you're not on the end where you're just waiting and you have to force your initiation, it's harder to see that the best option for your opponent is just to wait. And
that's why
I like to see that.
That's why I like to like whittle down that guard gauge, because like I want to see if they get desperate, if they gonna make the wrong move, if they misspace their attacks, if they whiff something. Like sometimes like some people, they panic and they try to like fight their way out, try to figure out an answer, and sometimes they end up just hanging themselves.
Yeah, that's a pretty good tactic. Just getting down to almost guard break and then just be really patient and then see how they mess up.
I don't go for the guard gauge because I know people are gonna either try to roll out or something like that. I like to play that little mind game, like what's your next move. And then if they don't do anything, and if I get them in a guard gauge, if I'm gonna break it, then I'm just gonna go in for a full combo.
Yep.
You guys are so good at video games.
Dude, I like that's why I say I'm lucky, because like, to be honest, like I just test shit, dude, and whatever happens. I don't know, like I just fucking, once I learn like certain amount of things, I just fucking let instinct take over, man. It's weird.
Yeah.
And I was like,
that's talent, man. That's talent.
I hope it is, but shit, I don't know, dude. Like sometimes I don't know what I'm doing myself, but it works out.
That's half the fun of fighting games. Like
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
even
Do
lying
stuff
when
and
I
it works.
Yeah, I'm not even
Yeah.
lying when I tell you guys, like when we're in the middle of sets and you guys go, "Oh, that shit was good." I'm like, "I'm sorry, I blacked out. What happened?" I'm like dead ass. Like I'm not kidding. Like I was so in my own fucking head of like just fighting the neutral and like being able to come out on top that like I popped out of the tunnel and like the round was over and I'm like, "All right, what next?"
No, it happens to me too, like way back in the days. That's why like I practice on being more conscious of what's going on and what I'm doing. Like I'm just gonna test this shit out. I'm like, okay, his offense is pretty goddamn good. So when I'm going on the next like match, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna test to see what happened if I pressure him in this matchup, because I feel like whatever character like Kyo versus Benny, like Benny, he wants to keep me out. But what happened? Get a knockdown. I'm gonna try to stick in. Like, oh, it worked when I stand in within this range, and then I wasn't allow him to press stand B. It was punishable for me. His jump D, if he does it right here, I can DP it. Yada yada yada, and I don't know. Like it just worked out for me. Then what's it called? Then like from there, right, when I start playing more safe, that's when I just start throwing the crazy in. Like when I have meter, I'm just gonna fucking go for it. I'm gonna throw frame trap. Throw overheads. I'm gonna see if I can fucking luck you out, man. You just gotta test them, right? Like, eventually, it's like I haven't done an overhead. Why not? We're not throwing when you have meter. I don't. It'll probably work.
Yeah, I think it's good to play in a creative and kind of playful manner instead of trying to play too perfectly every time, like every game. I know some players are like that. They try to play too perfectly, and then what happens is they become very predictable and not very creative.
Guilty.
So I think yeah.
Yeah, that's how I feel. So that's why I just played my heart. I just tried. I was like, okay, maybe I see how he reacts with this, how he reacts with that. Oh, then I was like, okay, it's time to try this now. And I guess I guess conditioning end up working, right? Because you've been working on other things, you've been hiding other things, or you do something that leads into like other possibilities. Like, oh, I've been doing this. Now let's test a frame trap, because I noticed that like he was able to walk out or move out or throw a button in between the situation. I'm gonna throw a really tight frame trap, and then like especially if you play characters that no one really like play against, like for freaking Terry, like do like crouch A stand D, for some reason it bops people once in a while, and like how I'll say, like sometimes like people's like, if I do it, it doesn't work, but how in like a like a beginner player mind, like, well, just because you didn't make it work, like how have you ever like tried figuring out how to actually make it work in a match? Like there's ways to make it work. It's just how you figure it out in your own way to make it work.
Yeah,
That's the
I just
beauty of
know.
fighting.
What was that?
Oh yeah, go ahead. I'm not saying that's the beauty of fighting games.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was wow. I was gonna say, yeah, you interrupted me and then I forgot.
Yeah, that happens. I do that all the time. My bad.
The classic. It happens to me all the time, brother. No problem.
But we could backpedal to it whenever it comes back.
Yeah.
Come across.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would say, to touch up on what you were just talking about, like some of the best advice that I was given over time, it was like really a compound of the two that got me to start thinking that way. Like you're talking about, like staggering your offense a little differently and creating different setups, was one that if you feel like you're very frustrated because you're not playing perfectly, you're probably not comfortable unless you're not steamrolling. So if you understand that you don't need to steamroll, then you can slowly start working up extra advantage. And then the second bit of advice that really solidified that to me was pressure is anything that's inherently pressuring, right? Like real talk, King doing a jump C or a jump D towards you that's going to whiff, and then she lands in the space where she can throw you if she lands, that's pressure, because you can't, unless you have a very good crouch B, like that's going to be, oh, I don't want to try to anti-air that, it'll trade, or oh, I don't want to do whatever, you know what I mean? Like there's pressure to it, and you have to deal with it a certain way, which can then lead someone to go, oh, I'm just going to block this shit because I don't want to trade or something. Like you're not steamrolling as King. Like, that's not a steamrolly way to fuck him up. That's not a true 50-50 left-right mix-up. That's just, is he going to anti-air me here? Oh, he didn't? I'm going to throw him. Now I'm going to get my offense started. Like, you don't have to steamroll to get the steamroll going. You have to be comfortable outside of that as well.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. Like, playing in terms of like, playing perfectly, as in like destroying the other players so well that.
Yeah, like my Alice mix is so godlike that you weren't ready for the overhead. Like, I'm fucking sick. Like those players that are playing for that reason, right? Like, and then they lose and they die and they're like, what the fuck? Like, I can't deal with Benny Maru's jump B. It's like that person is probably not comfortable unless they're steamrolling. Like for whatever reason behind it, right? Whether it's like, oh, I'm not confident in myself, or I'm overconfident in myself. On both sides of the spectrum, them not being able to steamroll, that's going to be one of those skill trees you got to invest time into.
Yep. I just know that I don't know. I'm not good enough at the game to be able to explain what playing perfectly means. Because when you look at, say, Violent Kane versus Deshimo, both of them are extremely high-level players, but they play completely opposite game play styles. And then you play someone like El Rosa, who plays yet a different play style, and yet they're all kind of around the same level. So, to me, playing perfectly, kind of just that term kind of goes out the window.
Yeah,
and
like kind of doesn't exist. It's like, what the hell do you mean? Just play more games, bro.
Yeah.
The way how I see it is like, it's too hard to play perfect because the other opponent's job is to fuck you up, right? Like mentally and everything. You're not gonna play perfect.
Yeah,
it's the other. That's what they're trying to prevent you to do. So like that's why it's like, it's what you gonna do as a player moving forward. Like when you fuck up or when you make a mistake and stuff like that. That's what is all. That's why like adapting comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest problem that at least I still have problem understanding is when you're adapting to a situation and you need to like, okay, he's blocking and it's now time for me to start working throw pressure and stuff like that. Like I'm now giving up a chance at offense to get a throw to now get offense again. You know what I mean? Like convincing myself that that's a good idea right when I'm in the middle of the fight is kind of fucking hard.
Yeah, I think that just depends on if you're reading the other player, and sometimes you just have to go for things like, because these reads, you're talking about like microsecond reads, like, oh, they're vulnerable for a second here, or for a split second here. I'm gonna go for a throw. Okay, land the throw. That's a microsecond read, and if you commit to it, then you just go for it. Sometimes you can't really tell whether you should go for a throw or just go for another hop-in pressure. You just kind of have to go for it.
Yeah, it's all about going with it and mixing up your offense, and that's why like I want to backpedal. It's like when you start creating these scenarios, start using these things, try to like have like multiple options as certain things happen. You know, when you do jump D, right? Make sure you have like 4 different things to go in. You know, it could be like stagger right after hop D, or it could be a double hop D, hop 3, hop D, wait, then throw. It's how you layer these things. You get what I'm saying? When you start staggering or pressing too much buttons, like, or you do like when you stagger, like you do 1 light kick, then you wait a little bit, double light kick, right? And the next time you put that same person in a different scenario, whether it's the same character or a different character, he's probably gonna have in his mind like, oh, he stagger pressured me twice, or he chain blocked me twice. What happens if you do like a jump D, then crouch B, walk up for a tad second, then throw? It's how you layer these things, and eventually, like, you may get lucky, or he may bop you for moving forward because he was mashing crouch B, and you got tagged like a scrub. You know, like shit happens, right?
There's times too where I've realized like there's like when you set up an offensive trap, right? Like you set someone up to get frame trapped, right? What's their answer to get out of a frame trap? Did they try to press a button or did they try to jump? And like understanding those things too in that lets you know what to go in offense for next. Like at least that's what kind of how I see it so far. Like because my approach is very linear, like it's still pretty scrubby. I'm still working on it, but getting those layers into it are going to be like really finding like what's good with my character, what reads I'm gonna actually want to make. Like if someone's gonna be crouch being through a sweep string, I'm not gonna want to run up and command grab that person. I'm starting to learn this now. Like even if I've frame trapped them 3 times, that doesn't mean they're gonna learn. That means I need to frame trap them into a full punish. I need to have something set up from that distance when I do frame trap them to commit into, just as I would commit to a jump. Like it's adjacent.
Yeah, you're getting.
Yeah.
I'm so happy. I'm learning.
Yeah, that's one thing that matters, dude. You learn at your own pace.
Yeah, definitely. Investing time into different areas of, you know, knowledge, like whether it's neutral, whether it's just sitting around talking like this. Like I wish we would do stuff like this more often, you know, like talk about the game sets, the mentalities, stuff things have good, like really do like deep dives on it and stuff.
That's the subject of this podcast.
Exactly. But I mean, like each and everything we talked about, we got a year of content on here for sure. Like we just scratched the fucking surface, you know what I mean?
Right? Yeah.
But I love this kind of stuff. Like the mentality of it is really what keeps me around, I think. Being able to instill my will.
I think that's the only way to go about like improving in fighting games, because it's a lot. Most of it, it's mental.
Well, all of it is because you are what sits down. The only difference between that M- team is M- behind it or someone else, you know, like it's that mind, the literal brain that walked into the room and sat down next to you. That's the person you have to fight. They chose those characters. You need to know how to fight those characters, but that person's not going to always do the same thing Alrosa does or that Kane does or whatever. You're going to have to deal with it right there.
Yeah, that's the beauty of fighting, because everyone's going to have their own style to express themselves the way how they play the game.
Yep. I often think of fighting games as mental martial arts because it's so similar in so many ways. Like it's less physical, more cerebral, but you're still challenging yourself. You're training. You're trying to maintain inner centeredness. You're trying to be more grounded, more resilient, less prone to tilt, all that kind of stuff. And you're really training yourself, except in fighting games, you're more about training your mind and your internal emotions. So I think it's super valuable to think about mentality and kind of get into a bit more than simply playing for fun. Because you're going to spend time with this hobby, I think it's worth spending time to do it well. To spend some better time considering this stuff, so you get more out of it.
Yeah,
I think it's very valuable.
very similar to
hell yeah.
martial arts there too. Most people don't have like a Mr. Miyagi over their shoulder to show them that they're
Yeah.
inputting DP wrong or other stuff like that. Like that's where I feel like the FGC could benefit so much with we have people who give what's it called? We have people who make content like Juicebox and stuff, but you lack that over your shoulders. So it's super hard to like be able to see your own faults when you're in those situations and stuff like that. Sorry, that's a little tangent, but I like what you said there.
It makes sense though, because like you don't know where you, like you see what people are doing, but it's like why they're doing it, and where they're doing it. Like in what situation, right? That's why like fighting games are freaking hard as.
Yeah, like, and dead ass, not to just put you on the spot, but that's why I value having you as a coach so much, is because you've been with me since the start of me starting KOF. Like, you were my first match I've ever played. You completely washed me when I didn't know what buttons to press, and now I'm here, right? Like, you've seen dead ass start to finish of what I think. So if I say something to you and you say that's fucking cap, we can talk about it because you know about me personally. Like, that's the kind of shit that I feel like a lot of people don't do, is invest into their training partners or invest the same like level. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm very appreciative that you give that out to me, and that's why I like to pay that shit forward and other stuff like that.
You're too kind, dude.
I'm gonna cry too.
But yeah, like I try my best to like relate to people who I teach, because like I try to figure out like, sometimes you see like the similar situations where the other person was at, right? Like, oh, seems like he was in this certain part of the situation where he was stuck at, so I understand the hardship, and I try to figure out like what is he doing wrong? Maybe it's something similar to what I'm doing wrong. Maybe like, it's like, man, I can't do it in this situation and pull out to clutch, so I'm like, maybe I try to figure out like other answers, like on how you could make certain things happen, right? Like, for example, your DP suck. Like, you can't just like when you see a hop, you can't do it on demand. So I try to work ways, because I can't do it I can't do that either, right? So what I'm doing is like, that's why you see me teabagging mid-match, because I'm buffering shit. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stand here. So if he actually hops, T-buffering. So if he's standing there and he's gonna jump and hop here, if I buffer the motion, I could just hit punch and get a DP. And where I'm standing, like, I'm out of this guy's normal range, right? He can't hit me, because when you're doing a DP, you're not gonna be blocking, right? So it's all about spacing and understanding where you're at and try to predict it. Then when you do the motion, when you see him jump and he's moving forward, then you hit the punch button. That's all it takes. So it's just like little things like that I try to figure out to help other players if I think they're having troubles in certain situations. Because I mean, I've been through all the hardships, so I just pass on what I went through. And
yeah, I kind of see it. You got to give the person you're teaching like a piece of the Swiss Army knife, right? Because you can't learn the whole thing at once. So you just got to be like, you're not doing this in this situation. If you start doing this, you won't see the situation anymore. Like, and being able to convince someone of that is super fucking hard too. So fighting him to teach.
I think that's why having a good learning mentality is really good. Like a learner's mentality. Like you want to, when you're interacting with people who are trying to show you things, you should try to learn as much as you can, and not, unless if they're being mean to you, if they're speaking in a way that's like respectful and all, it's good not to doubt them too much, even if you don't know whether they're saying is true or not. At least for that session, try doing what they're saying and go with their advice, at least so that you tried it out. If it doesn't work, or you find that their advice is shit, then, well, you'll learn afterwards. But it's good to be open-minded about learning, I think.
So I actually
try to see it from their perspective.
I actually have a funny story on that specifically of something that's happened to me, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So I was playing Yurikov, and we were doing Benimaru mirrors, basically.
Yep.
Well, he was running Benimaru, and I couldn't kill him. And he was telling me that I need to use Jump D more. So I started using Jump D more, but then there was that like trap I was telling you about like you don't know what to do next, right? And I was
Yeah.
getting beat up right after that. So I stopped using the offense that was given to me as advice. And then it just felt like I wasn't learning because I was being conditioned to not do the thing because I didn't have the next thing figured out. So
Yeah.
but that's just an anecdote to guys, like, please, like, this all ties together. Everything's important.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue,
Like,
Fat Boy.
oh, so you know how when people tell you, "Oh, you gotta use this more, gotta use this more," like, not saying like it's literally like bad advice, but it's like they need a I'm not trying to like disrespect anyone, but they gotta have to tell you how to use it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get one sense like, oh, if you jump, you're at this angle, you're like right here. You like throw jump D, or like that's why I tell you, like, when you're using hop D, you should be testing your opponent's reaction, how they could DP, like see how you could use it in different angles and what like situation it creates for you, right? How does your opponent react when you hit max distance? Like, so let's just say, for example, it was hard for you to hit a deep jump D's nuts, right? Like, what happened? You just do jump D and hit them like max distance. So from there, like, you're creating the situation where, oh shit, he's jumping at me. He's been hitting like jump D at this range. I'm gonna just block, right? But bam, no, like, you actually created yourself a situation where you can actually do a jump D or jump CD and hit deep. So that allows you to either, if you land a hit, you get a full reward on a full jumping combo, or it gives you an opportunity to frame trap because you hit deep, and now the frame data actually changes because you hit them as low as you can or as deep as you can, where you may end up being positive at that situation where you can actually either continue a block string with crouch B, or you could create a frame trap with crouch B, depending on where you hit them and when you hit the button. You get what I'm saying? So that's pretty much you figuring out like how you can make that situation work for yourself.
Yeah, it makes
Just
total
little
sense.
thing. Mm-hmm.
Micro advantage.
Yeah, exactly
man.
what Lou said. Just tell him do the thing. What thing? The thing.
Yeah, why didn't you do the thing, man? Come on. We're all waiting for the thing.
What thing? The thing.
So I'm sure we could talk about this all night.
Yeah.
But I do want to touch on something that has been happening this week. Kenshi has a lot of words
Oh.
that
Oh.
that they've been saying.
Oh.
I wanna hear a little bit about what's going on the East Coast right now. It sounds like everyone's getting into a wrestling showdown, and Kenshi's just calling everyone out, firing the shotgun.
Nah, so legit, I just wanted to do something to draw attention to the KOF community and, just like the players in the KOF community. I had this idea after, like watching some like old wrestling content, and I posted it on Twitter. I'm like, I really want to make wrestling style promos with me going at KOF players and gloating about myself shamelessly, but I don't have a green screen.
Hey,
So
fuck
I
the green
was like really hesitant on the idea of even like doing it without a green screen. But something in my mind told me, just do it. Who cares? It's for fun. So I told Rome in one of my streams, I'm like, Rome, I want to do this, and I'm going at you first. So, like, I had wrote a script, and it took, I don't know, maybe 15 takes before I got something I was kind of happy with, where I didn't just bust out laughing.
Oh, aren't those the best, right? When you're just recording and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. So I send it to Rome when I'm done recording, and I'm like, Rome, can I make this public? and he absolutely loved it. Like, he loved what I recorded. And so I made it public, and he never sent me his response. Like, I had no idea what he was going to say in his response. He told me he was going to have a response ready the next morning after I made it public. And I kid you not, when I watched that stuff at work, it was like all smiles. I was so happy because he sold it so well. And I know, and he knows, that this is just for fun. But there was people asking him what's going on. There was people asking me what's going on. And it's just like, we wrestling. That's what's going on. We playing some KOF.
That wrestling.
Yeah, man. My favorite wrestler of all time is Stone Cold Steve Austin. So when I got the idea of doing it, I was like, I'm going to mimic my favorite wrestler. It came pretty naturally to me when I was writing the script. I'm like, yeah, he would talk like this. This is probably how he would deliver it. And mind you, it was hard to like deliver it on the video because like I kept laughing. And like there's times where like I would choke up reading the script that I just kind of improv some of it. I'm like, this is kind of what was on the script. Let's just improv. Fuck it. We'll get the point across. And I don't know if you noticed, but in that first promo that I made, if you saw, Discord was disconnected. I had to pull the Ethernet cord out of my computer because I kept hitting go live instead of start recording.
Oh shit!
I don't know. I had one really good take, but it didn't get recorded. It got streamed.
Oh fuck!
And Twitch didn't catch the whole thing, and I'm like, God damn it!
Oh darn.
Those are the worst. You know, I had so much anxiety doing the same thing a couple days ago for some YouTube shit. I was gonna do that. I was like, every time I'd go to record, I'd be like, oh no, please don't. Don't go live.
So like with the wrestling promos, you know, like anyone who grew up with, you know, WCW, WWF/WWE, TNA, whatever you grew up with, if you have a favorite wrestler, I wholeheartedly invite you to just go ahead and make a promo on me if you have no one else to target. Have fun with it. Just keep it to the game, you know, don't attack anything personal. I like to say keep it to the game and fighting game related things. That's why I be going at Rome about commentary. Like, I love Rome as a commentator, you know, but it's something I can bring up. Like, oh, he's a commentator now. He's not a player. Let's go at him. But, you know, and Rome was like the perfect first target because he grew up with wrestling too and he loves wrestling. And I didn't know this about him, but he also has acting experience.
Oh, snap.
So,
Ooh.
yeah. So when he uploaded his, it was a lot more professional, a lot more like well sold in my opinion, and it gained so much traction. It's over 2,000 views. I think it's at like 2,500 on Twitter, you know, and things get buried on Twitter quick.
Yeah.
So
shit, that's the whole KOF community right there. 2,500 rolling 2,500
there's
deep.
people from outside of it though. It was like, yo, what's going on? Day one, first to tens, and it's like, yeah, day one, first to tens. You want to?
Are you guys throwing down Team Ga versus Team Ga?
No, I'm going to be playing my KOF 14 main team. I'm going to be playing, you know, Kyo, Athena, Iori.
Yo, what do we gotta pay for a Team Ga versus Team Ga match? How many Twitch bucks? How many bits?
You'll have to talk to him about that.
All right, I'll hit up Rome.
Yeah,
Rome.
like we're actually planning on doing it at an official event.
Oh, okay.
Like, yeah, I don't know which event it's going to be. Probably one of the, you know, East Coast ones like Lunar Phase or something. but we're planning on doing this first to 10 at an official event. Even if you watch the promos, it looks like we're about to do it online, but we're actually like, we're going to get like a match card and everything set up and do it at an official event. So, and I'm going at all the East Coast players. Like, I don't care. Like, as long as they're cool with it, because, you know, like, you never know how someone's going to respond. If I don't let them know, hey, I'm making a promo on you, and it's going to be like this, they might be offended. So I strictly made the rule of they have to be in on the joke, because if they're not in on the joke, then it could go all sorts of bad.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, I have a list of people I'm going at. And
could you just imagine being like, hey, you a bitch, Rome? And then he was like, hey, man, I thought we were friends, dude. Like, what the fuck?
Right. I told him on stream, I'm like, I'm going to go at you. I don't know what I'm going to say yet, but I might say something kind of mean. Just know it's all in good fun. We're just having wrestling promos. And he was all for it. So, like, I cannot express how happy I was that it took off the way it did. I didn't think it would, but like, there's so many people interested in like what is going on between Rome himself and Kenshimura, and like, it's great because now people outside of the community have something they can look forward to as a spectator. Even if they don't get into KOF as a player, they can get invested into it as a spectator, and that's important.
Yes, that is like the core of the FGC, like at least the outside stuff. That's the stuff that's going to make money. That's the stuff that's going to draw people to play the game, like, and people that come to events just to like meet you guys. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that shit is super important, and I feel like so many people overlook that kind of shit.
Yeah,
so I'm like really happy you guys are doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's all about like exposing KOF to, you know, bigger audiences, you know, exposing our community to bigger audiences, and it's really fun. Like, I kid you not, it's really fun. Like, I don't know how many times I have rewatched Rome's promo, and I was just laughing the whole time. Like, every time it brings an instant smile to my face, because like, you could tell he had fun with it. And when you watch mine, I didn't edit it down or anything, so when I'm like hitting end recording, you can see me laughing about it, so you know, yeah, I'm having fun with it. And it's just great. Like, I feel like for future ones that I'm going to do, especially like Animunk, like, I'm waiting on a new Stone Cold shirt, but when I get that new shirt, I'm going to drop the one on Animunk, and I'm going to actually, you know, sit down with Sony Vegas and edit it and present it better than the one that I dropped on Rome, because that was the test run. But now I know it's successful.
Proof of concept.
So I'm going to like actually, you know, go full in and start like putting some effort into them. But yeah, anyone who's a wrestling fan, I really would appreciate if you're a wrestling fan and you're a KOF fan and you're a KOF player, especially, go at someone, go at a friend, you know, like, just as long as they're cool with it. And I'm an open invitation. I'm cool with it. Just, you know.
Yeah, you know, you should go after FatBoi, man. He was a luchador back in down in TJ, dude.
Yeah, but you know, FatBoi said at the beginning of this to leave him out of it. So
yeah, leave me out of.
I think that's some weak stuff.
Yeah, I'm weak. I'm
not me too, dude. I'm not trying to argue with no one over
but
wrestling
yeah,
stuff
no,
either.
like, and like the feedback, like when I originally pitched the idea of I want to do this before I started recording anything, it was really positive. People were like, yeah, bring some funny content to the FGC. I don't feel like there's enough of that. And I went for it. And I'm glad I did. So, you know, like, I break kayfabe all the time. Everyone knows that me and Rome are homies. But if they're not on the inside, if they're not in the KOF community, they don't fucking know. And that's what I want.
Yeah, we just gotta expose it more to the public, right?
Yeah. I'm going to, keep dropping promos on people. Me and Rob were actually like bickering on Twitter during this podcast.
Yeah, I was about to say you're
Like,
in my chat too, Bicker. You're
Yeah.
arguing on several forms of media right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are at war.
Yeah, we were just going at it.
You guys
It
are
was-
like
it was
three
hilarious.
MySpace DMs with 3 different conversations going on, but you responded.
Yeah, man. That's just to sell it more as like, hey, we're actually going at it. But, at the end of the day, KOF is family, so. And yeah, what Lou said, Crispy Kaiser absolutely adored it when he saw it. He was like, this is the type of shit that gets me excited in FGC or something like that. He was super happy to see it. Violent Kane was getting into it too.
Yeah, he had the popcorn emote. I saw that tweet.
Yeah. I was
He's like, "Ooh, I'm sitting here eating."
Yeah, I was so happy. But yeah, it's anyone's welcome to do it. If you have like some kind of affection for wrestling, or not even like wrestling, just like wrestlers in general. Like even if you didn't like grow up watching wrestling and you don't have that much of investment, I feel like everyone has a favorite wrestler. So go for it. And if you can't find anyone that's willing, I'm always willing to be on the receiving end of a promo. You just gotta be willing to take one back.
Dude, I hope like, people like El Rosa or someone else starts doing it. That would create a lot of hype. That would be pretty fun. Yeah. Like to watch. Shit, I'll hype it up. I mean, I'll fucking, promote it, watch it, fucking
Oh,
do
yeah,
commentary
man.
and all that shit.
I want everyone to get in on it. I would absolutely love that. Because like it's something fun. And it brings shit talk to where it needs to be. The game. Nothing personal. We're all friends. And it's never like you can't be offended by it. It's just too funny. It's so exaggerated, and you can just see, the wrestling roots in everyone. It's just too much fun.
I'm just imagining this like list of like talks between you and Rome about like, "Hey man, how's your day? Oh, it's good. Oh, hey, you're still a bitch, bro." Something like that. Keep it funny. Oh man.
Yeah, like it's hilarious. I didn't expect him to come into the stream in character.
That was godlike.
I
Godlike.
Yeah.
saw those emotes, and I'm just like, oh, he's ready to go at it. Because like I have a hard time staying, in character, but he was ready, so I had to respond accordingly. That was fun. I didn't expect to cut a promo on this podcast, honestly, but yeah, it's just really fun, and it's a positive thing, I think, in the KOF community right now. Like even though it looks like it's beef, it's not.
Yeah.
It's just fun.
Well, I'm glad you guys are doing that, man. That's going to be pretty good for the scene. Hopefully it turns out into some like big spectacular extravaganza like your theory crafting here, Anything you need help with?
I only hope.
I mean, anything you need help with, the community's got your back, so we'll help you post up, we'll retweet, share, all that shit. You know what I mean?
For sure, man.
So
The more people on the outside that sees it, the better.
yes, I 100% agree. So I was going to close up today's Scrubs of Southtown talk, but before I do, I just wanted to know if anyone had some last closing words or anything before we head into the after party for the Steam session.
Not really. Just waiting to play now.
Gotcha.
Waiting to kick some ass.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
ready to go back to the album and give it a few spins before I hop on KOF.
Well, shit. Well, thank you guys so much for being here today. I think we got a lot accomplished when it came to just like, discussion of mentality and other stuff. Like there's a lot of stuff here that will be useful for people just listening on their commute or, in their day to day. So, and that tourney promo was extremely hype, or not the tourney promo, but the beef promo, super hype. I like that. And thank you guys, everybody, for tuning in tonight. We're going to transition to the after party where we boot up KOF 14 Steam Edition. But I need to take a 5 to 10 minute break. as I transition all this over and, get water and stuff. We've been sitting here for a cool minute.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm like cooking, man. I'm sweating. I haven't had my
cooking?
AC on all day.
Damn,
Yeah,
pop open the AC, enjoy yourself, fam. You're working hard, dude. Throwing all that hype around the KOF community, dude. Well deserved.
At least bust a couple of cold ones over above your head,
Right?
to dry off.
Oh,
Smash
man.
that shit.
If I have a way to record outside, I guarantee you I am doing that. I
Do
just
it
don't wanna
inside.
make a
It'll be
mess.
10 times funnier. It'll be
wanna make
be
a
more
mess.
dramatic. Yeah, a mess, but after the mess, what will be greatness and wetness. A lot of damp, maybe mold, if
Oh
you don't
my
take care of it
gosh.
quick.
Oh my
All right, maybe
God.
this is a bad idea. I shouldn't be encouraging you. All right, well, thank you guys, everyone. I'm going to take a quick break.
All right.
We're going to switch this over to, if I can remember. Let's see if I can do this in a one shot. I don't know if I'll be able to do this in a one shot.